Dad, we need to stop.
Can't stop. We're making great time. We have to beat the crowds.
I'm car sick.
Well, throw up in Nanny's purse. She won't know.
Nanny's a problem. I think she had an accident. It's making me queasy.
Swallow that puke, Pete.
There's the fairground. All we have to do is park.
That man with no shirt and malt liquor in a bag is waving us into his front yard. Let's park there.
Janie, you can't go trusting every man with no shirt and malt liquor in a bag. You know that's how I met your father, right?
No. We're parking at the fairgrounds. I have a coupon. I mean, look at this. All we had to do was get up at 4 in the morning, and I got this great parking space.
No, only a mile from an entrance.
Hey, shut up and help your grandmother out of the car.
Okay, but I'm not touching her or cleaning that off the seat. Poop stalagmites. Janie's gonna sit there on the way home.
Don't worry, Janie. It'll be dry by then, so you're fine.
Or solid and pointy.
That jerk wouldn't take my coupon, but hey, we're in.
Well, and Pete's not on the 12, Keith, so.
I know, but I didn't think he'd pull down his pants and check for pubes.
Not embarrassing at all, Dad.
It's a little weird that you don't have pubes.
Waxing? I had a Groupon.
I don't think the guy who inspected Pete's pubes even works for the fair.
All right, now before we split up, we need to pick a spot where everyone can meet in case someone gets lost.
Why?
Good point. That would actually be a blessing. So let's just meet at the corny dog stand in 2 hours for lunch.
Oh, there are like 100 corny dog stands here.
Yeah, I know. If you want to eat, you'll find the right one. If you don't, I'll have the extra 70 tickets. Beer money for me.
And before we split up, I need to know what your kids are doing. Okay?
Well, I want to go look at the livestock.
You had to be with your own kind.
Shut up. Someone's not good enough to be a carny, photograph your pubes.
I want to go talk to the actual carnies about their ODs and meet that dog-faced boy.
So ask the balloon guy, the balloon dot guy, why he has the tattoo of your father's name on his chest.
Yeah, and don't ask the dog-faced boy why he has a picture of your mom in his wallet. Well, what about rides there, Pete?
I only like rides that nobody has died on.
Wussy.
Well, what are you and Dad going to do, Mom?
Well, first, you see, your mom drags me into the building with all of the quilts and jams and crap.
Then your father sees how many beers he can drink between there and the auto show, and then embarrasses himself by flirting with the car model until he has to call security.
Security wussies.
Was there anything special you wanted to do, Nanny?
Oh, well, ain't that just perfect? The nanny just fell down and there crows are just plucking her eyes out. Good job, kid.
Step right up and see the crow-eyed lady.
Yeah, only 15 tickets.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may I have your attention, please? Zooming to you from everywhere in the universe. This is Far Out Fiesta episode 219, Podcast City Bucket List. I am your host and oh so humble narrator, Richard Houghton.
He is Richard Houghton.
Please give it up for our amazing cast: JuliAnna Briscoe, Kristin Keith, Robb Hudspeth. Before we get to the rest of the hilarious comedy, and there is so much, I've got a quick question. Please, well, I'll just say it this way. Do you have a favorite nap couch? If so, please describe it for me. I can begin. I'm actually looking at mine. Mine was our main house couch. Now it's my office couch, but it's still pretty darn fantastic, kind of corduroy-ish, kind of overstuffed couch. It's not even long enough for me, but I still think it's fantastic. Jules, do you have a favorite nap couch?
I used to sleep exclusively on couches. Yes,
So you're something of an aficionado?
I should be. Yes. Have yet to enjoy the delicacy that is sleeping on a couch in the past couple of years, but I remember exclusively sleeping on a vintage sofa cedar couch sectional.
Yeah.
What kind it was, I have no clue. Where it was from, zero fucking idea. Fucking idea. But it was great.
Awesome. Cool. What about you, Kristin?
Can it be one that I no longer have?
Sure, absolutely.
My in-laws used to have this couch in their den, and when my husband and I got married, they gave it to us for our new house.
Wow.
And something about this couch, my husband and I call it, even to this day, the sedative couch, because when you sat on it, you got so asleep. Immediately destined to fall asleep on it.
Yes, actually, come to think of it, my mom had one of those also.
Oh, I miss it.
What about you, Robb? Do you have a favorite nap couch?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it really counts because it's like a futon. It's like this leather futon thing that you can fold flat, or you can fold up the back and then like the arms up on the side, so it's like a couch.
Right.
So it's kind of made to be slept on. Sat on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really counts, but that
Absolutely.
probably be it. But I do sleep in couch mode. I don't bother to fold it down and go through all that trouble.
So it still performs the function of a couch.
Oh yes.
Awesome. Well, as always.
Tonight's Far Out Fiesta.
Episode 219, Podcast City Bucket List.
Is based on a true story.
Tonight's show is Far Out Fiesta's podcast version of a travel show where they take you to local places to see local sights.
Great.
Can't wait.
Let's do it.
Far Out, let's Fiesta. Good afternoon. I'm Teague. This is Rebecca, and this is
Podcast City Bucket List, where we highlight a local podcast city area business you may not know about.
Did you say anything to the detective?
I'm now Teague. On today's podcast, you'll meet some colorful people from Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy.
Then it's a visit to Hippo Teats Dairy.
Finally, it's a trip to Podcast City Air Surgery Regional Championship. That sounds like a terrific podcast, eh?
So what did you say about the cops?
Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy.
Behind the scenes at Podcast City Bucket List. Oh, it was great seeing you, Hobo. I'm glad you're my friend.
I'm not a hobo, but great meeting you too. I'm not sure I'm your friend though either.
And great meeting you, porno camera person.
What? Wait. Is that me? Wait, have we met? I don't even know your name.
What we're going to need you to do is simple. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we like simple things.
How comfortable are both of you around porn?
Well, I don't mind watching it, I guess.
And what about you, Hobo?
Again, I'm not a hobo, but I guess I'm comfortable enough around porn.
Great. Shall we get started?
No, this is making me uncomfortable.
I'm not super cool with this either.
I was fine with befriending the hobo.
He was pretty clear he wasn't a hobo.
And I was comfortable with that woman, God rest her soul, who was willing to hold the camera.
And not now, Teague. Please.
Podcast City, Old Town Pharmacy and Live Bait Museum. When it comes to Podcast City, the Mongoose Ridge is a carnivorous, small mammal infested suburb.
Mongoose Ridge, almost more mongoose than oxygen.
Getting a tour of this sprawling valley of big anus businesses, or just visiting the buttless chap's shop to breathe in the bouquet of that fine mongoose leather, is what brings most folks to Mongoose Ridge section of Podcast City.
Mongoose Ridge, 98% Cobra free.
Once you fight the toll guard to get in, you might want to get a gander of the hustling, bustling at Podcast City, Old Town Pharmacy's Old Podcast City's Nerve Center. Oh, Podcast City, Old Town Pharmacy. I'm not going to lie. Shooting the porno with the hobo was a little weird for me.
I think the hobo had a name.
What was it?
I don't know. I never asked.
Micah.
What do you want?
Micah. Dale. Evan.
Not now, Teague. Okay, I think it was Evan. Come on, dude. Let's keep this thing rolling, please.
I suppose the camera person had a name too.
I'm extremely competitive and don't care about her name. So come on, dude. Let's keep this thing rolling, please.
Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy is the non-sniffable glue that holds Old Town Podcast City together.
Don't believe us. Listen to two of the town's most colorable and oldest suck people.
Podcast City, Old Town Pharmacy is kind of like our living room without the putrid, rotting corpses. Just me and Ginger.
Oh, did you say something? I just farted so loud I went temporarily deaf.
We'll formally meet Ginger in a moment.
Mel has two distinctions down in Mongoose Ridge.
He is the 15th generation of Podcast City to own this over 100-year-old drugstore in his fingernails have been growing for about 45 years. Ew.
Here, depressed birds dive to their death. Well, there's not a whole lot of oxygen, so we have to make our own. Or we just hold our breaths.
Mel's partner, Ginger, is the longest tenured staff member.
Do I get to talk yet?
Right now, I'm up to being second in seniority around here. Ginger has worked here for over 30 years.
They call me Ginger because I can cause mild side effects, including heartburn, diarrhea, burping, and general stomach discomfort.
His real name might remind you of your favorite rock festival where Hell's Angels killed people.
My name is Almamont. Like where Meredith Hunger was stabbed to death.
But Ginger is no plant with leafy stems and yellowish green flowers. She really knows her stuff, and since 1989, she has been the brain and underpants of Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy.
She's a pharmacy tech, and she can probably tell you where everybody that sleeps in the nude lives, and even their preferred body wash.
Not sure about everybody. She's a pharmacy tech, and she can probably tell you where everybody that sleeps in the nude. That's what you just said. I'm sorry. I read wrong cue cards. Sorry. Over the past 30 years, she's been working at Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy. Ginger has to work about 5 days a week. Tough life for you.
Ginger sometimes still comes in just to kick the crap out of people that she thinks are hippies.
They think I'm crazy because there aren't any hippies in 2020, but I guess I just like pummeling punks.
Working side by side with Mel, they fill folks' medication, steal their personal information, and dispense helpful guidance for keeping a long, skinny penis out of a pencil sharpener.
And virgin blood does keep you young.
And while Mel and Ginger are popular act, the headliner of Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy is the Podcast Old Town Live Bait Museum. It's been a hot spot for locals for a long time.
I used to pogo over with my friends from school and stare at the flatheads, shad, golden shiners, suckers, and creek chubs.
Making these special memories wouldn't be complete without the best cast down memory lane. At Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy, you'll wish that the prescriptions had been the same prices as the baits.
Some customers even forego their prescriptions so they can afford bait and then try to treat their high cholesterol with night crawlers.
It remains important to Mel to keep community gathering place open and hippie free.
So, whether it's viewing mealworms or getting a chance to chat with Ginger about how many hippies she has allegedly stabbed.
1,122.
Taking a stop at Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy is one heck of a stop on Podcast City bucket list.
I keep telling myself I'm gonna quit stabbing people and that I think are hippies, but I never do. I love seeing the shock on their faces as an old woman stomps the suck out of them. Thor has blessed me.
Next up, it's a visit to the Hippo Teat Dairy. I want hippo milk and I want it now.
I want hippo grilled cheese and I want it now.
I want hippo custard and I want it now.
I want hippo nachos and I want it now.
Hippo.
Cheese.
Dairy.
Hippo Teats Dairy. Everything you have always loved about hippo milk and more.
Killing the hobo and the camera person for sport after she filmed the porn with them might have been a little over the line.
Not now, Dig, please.
Part of the segment is brought to you by Hippo Teats Dairy Hippo Cheesecake.
Starkey Hutch County may include the trialplex of Podcast City, but down the Mick Podcast City, you'll find some magnificent fields of hippopotamus with plenty of room to move.
Yeah, watch where you step.
They have about 50 hippos and have about a quarter of an acre.
Much of that quarter acre is layered in hippo dung.
Let's take a closer look. No way will they ever find bodies in the water tower on Farm Road 760.
What bodies? No idea what you're talking about. Not now, Tig. Are you really that stupid?
Hippo Teats Dairy has been in Wreck and Paloma's family long before people believed that every other kind of milk was better for you than cow's milk.
By the longevity of their family hippo dairy, the long way Wreck and Paloma do business has drastically changed in 2009 when hippo milk market tanked because of mercury-tainted hippo milk fudgesicles.
Yeah, 1,000 people killed by mercury-tainted fudgesicles in Podcast City.
Nobody knows why they kept eating them after the first deadly one.
Wreck and Paloma started selling directly to the consumers.
So we figured that starting selling one bottle of hippo milk at a time.
Yes, filling it using enough to hippo teeth to bottle technique.
And selling it at the farmer's market here in trendy South Pod.
While their hippo milk is available across the city, you'll be surprised how teethly popular their little pop-up hippo milk and light color store is.
There's no doubt that customers are excited about getting their fresh ear syringe of hippo milk.
Yeah, it's been a good ride. Lots of ears full of hippo milk.
What separates Hippo Teats Dairy and the average milk we'd buy at the grocery store, other than the fact that you can, have to inject an ear with milk syringe into ear canal? Our hippo milk is low temp, pasteurized, non-hypomanized.
Now, if you're not familiar with homogenization, don't feel like you're that dumb.
People, homogenization means to mix the fat globules to keep the fat from floating to the top. When we do that, we turn milk into things our body have never seen before.
We're not sure how well that was translated. So,
Hippo milk and hippotetheria is minimally licked by human tongues, and you can almost see blobs of hippo fat floating in it.
our Ripple milk is bouncing around in 4% giraffe butter fat, which conventional whole Impala milk is 3.5%. It's very rich. It's very smooth. And chocolate milk, don't worry, they have that too.
It's what we call chalky, chalk, hip, hip. It's our 1% hippo milk with Stockholm Syndrome prisoner nectar, hippo milk, and cacao paste.
The chocolate hippo milk smells like if a dog prepped chocolate in the back seat of a hot car.
Rock's favorite part about being a hippo dairyman is
I have my freedom and free trucker hookers as long as I pay my union dues.
Paloma feels the same way.
I get to do what I want when I want. I get to set on schedule, and as long as everything is done, no one gets upset. It seems as long as there is hippo milk inserted into conure of owl of ear, then syringe morning makes you happy, and everyone is happy every day. So life is good, yeah?
Life is good. Next up, it's a visit to Podcast City Air Surgery Regional Championship.
Sprouted from the liver of Podcast City, raised to fear the switch.
Podcast City Bank.
At Podcast City Bank, we're honed in on helping you and all our podcastoplex droogs however we can. Legal or iffy. Don't care.
Podcast City Bank.
We graciously serve the docile, stinking citizens of Podcast City in our extremely limited service banking centers.
Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank.
Offer some of the things you need in a bank with one line of loans and a deposit account. No online or mobile services and jacked up everything. Trust me, you will be hurt if you miss a payment.
Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank.
Our philosophy is you're lucky to get the honor of doing business with us.
Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank. Podcast City Bank.
The core values we share: licking your fingers when you're not looking, dampening your heart, mind, and soul, never losing faith in the brainless people of Podcast City, and more.
Podcast City Bank, 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 Podcast City Bank.
I don't like this. I think the cops are on the bodies.
What bodies? What are you talking about? The Podcast City Air Surgery Regional Championship. Pa.
Oh, we sure are, Rebecca. That detective keeps texting me. They're on their way. Podcast City Air Surgery Regional Championship. It's one of Podcast City's four most important air championships.
Okay, who hides bodies in a water tower?
It was your idea.
The Podcast City bucket list would like to you to meet a couple of colorful participants from this quarter's Podcast City Air Surgery Regional Championship. They'll meet the organizer, Ed, first.
Podcast City has some great air surgeons. We have it all. You know, incisors, cauterizers, artificial hearts, you name it.
Ed is a big fan of Dent and Cooley.
Dr. Mother Sucking Cooley totally invented the artificial heart. Need I say more?
Oh, it's not hard to get Ed to talk about ear surgery.
When I was little, I used to always emulate performing carotid endarterectomies. My foster mother, Thor, rest her soul, used to always say, someday there will be something with ear surgery that pays off. You will be the winner. And then she kicked my shins until they bled and I passed out.
Okay, so people who perform ear surgery are what you call essential personnel.
The competition within sanctioned U.S. air surgery is stiff, but most participants don't really know how to do surgery.
And the good news is, as our next colorful character explained, they doesn't have to know.
Warning, pantomime is no substitute for modern medicine.
Ear surgeries include incision, sponging, and suction of abstract patients' extremities and bodies, etc.
Yeah.
Our judges really look for is what's called no possibilities of sponges or instruments left inside patients. The judges will see an air instrument in somebody's body cavity and they'll pick up on it.
Air surgery judges go through a rigorous 4-year training program.
Yet the judges know that I can't save nobody through fake surgery. They still have to admire my scalpel swagger.
Happy placed 5th, her first time out. Good job.
I know some people, I see them try to do air surgery and I'm going, well, you never even seen air surgery, have you?
In the end, it's a competition and only one can move on to the U.S. Air Surgery National Championship.
For a few hours, it's chance for people with regular day job to pull a listener, keep up with the Becky, sling some Bernard, or act like Harvey Cushing.
They come together for their love of surgery and leave us all with a feeling like we're floating on anesthetic, making it well worth a stop.
Air surgery has been a huge part of my life. I'm always just visualizing, bone sawing and air clamping, and this is just a huge extension of it.
I just have fun, Yeah, I suck at being a shut-in, and so I get to come out. I get to enjoy faux life-saving, hanging out with people who are just really good fake medical professionals. It's just fun.
Man, nobody can deny exactly how fun it is to attend an air surgery competition. And we'll wrap it up after this message from Traeger Water.
Unadulterated, mighty, unblemished.
Traeger water.
Stolen from a sustainable source deep underneath the good Costco.
Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water.
There's no other way to describe water that piddles from the ground with such clarity and lumpiness.
Traeger water.
We had nothing good and take away nothing good. It is 7-year-old sports age water.
Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water.
Now, Traeger water doesn't ooze from the ground. No, it sneezes from a carpenter's sinkhole with the intensity you'd expect from a Traeger.
Traeger water.
To maintain the zip and pungency of Traeger water is bottled at the carpenter sinkhole and bottle rocketed straight to your mouth.
Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water, Traeger Water.
Our water goes directly from the carpenter sinkhole to our filtration system. We deliver the highest quality product to our customers by producing our water with lightly used and even more lightly cleaned technology.
Trigger water, 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 trigger water.
The spotless, hairless taste comes from a carpenter's sinkhole that probably filters some contaminants.
Ready? Trigger water, 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 trigger water. Beat that. That's 3 more things to check off my Podcast City bucket list, eh?
Triple ditto.
We met the adorable proprietors of Podcast City Old Town Pharmacy.
Stomping hippies and getting you. Stomping hippies and getting you that secret herpes medicine since 1986.
And if there's a more impressive bait shrine, I'd like to see it. Really, I would. I mean, maybe they're hiring. Because I suck in love, mate.
Have you learned more about hippo teats, dairy? The smell of unpasteurized hippo milk isn't something I will soon forget. Just the whiff of that cloddy, stinking death
Cool, Rebecca.
is not that cloddy.
Or that stinking.
Mm.
Hippo milk, cottage cheese.
A milk fondue.
And I don't know about you, Rebecca, but I think air surgeons are almost important to society as surgeons.
Oh, yeah, if I can make one person in some off-medical district clinic go, nice stitching, Patty, it makes it all worth it.
It's not just about pretending to save lives as a competition. It's about, I mean, what kind of stuff do they have in the vending machines, the event venues?
That proves you don't know about me, Teague. I think air surgeons are about even or less valuable than air guitars.
Why?
Well, their solos are life-saving, but guitar solos are face-melting.
Melting faces is more valuable than saving lives?
This has been another episode of the Podcast City Bucket List.
Today you met some new people, saw some new places.
We helped you. We showed you something about Podcast City that you have never seen before.
Until the next Podcast City Bucket List, arrivederci.
This spatter
Is that Klingon?
is German,
The cops are definitely here.
and our lawyers are on the way.
We're going away for a long time, aren't we, Rebecca?
Well, no cop is taking me alive. I have a 5-gallon tank of gas, so I'm fine.
I have a box of matches.
And we made our bucket list to hell.
We'll see you now, mother suckers.
Right, or on the next week's.
Podcast City Bucket List.
Yay!
And this has been a Far Out Fiesta episode 219. We're somewhere here in season 11, believe it or not, according to IMDb, because I declare seasons arbitrarily. But it is episode 219, Podcast City Bucket List. I have been your host and humble moderator, Richard Houghton. Please give it up.
Richard
Our
Houghton.
amazing cast, Robb Hudspeth, JuliAnna Briscoe, and Kristin Keith. Before we go, any parting thoughts? Not final words. Parting thoughts is the nicest way to say that. I don't have anything either. All right. See everybody next week. Have a great 2021.